Hello and welcome back to another Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer battle. Today it's a 2v2 on the maps Titan Peaks. Actually I wanted to upload Vermintide this evening, but somehow OBS had some problems with the videos, so yeah, neither my voice was in there, nor was the video quality on my standard. So that was weird. I have no idea why, and I hope it's working now, somewhat. And yeah, we are playing as the Beastman together with an Beastman ally against an Empire and a Bretonnian player. So let's get into the army compositions. The Empire player deployed here with 3 groups of swordmen, 3 groups of greatswords, and 4 groups of handgunners, as well as 2 groups of spearmen with shields on the flanks. And then here in the backline we have 4 groups of cannons, 2 being mortars, 2 being Hellblaster volley guns. No cavalry whatsoever, so that's a thing. And for the Bretonnian player we have a solid front line of spearmen at arms with shields. And behind that 4 groups of men-at-arms with polearms, probably all to counter any big creatures. And then 4 groups of foot squires, as well as 1 group of battle pilgrims, and then 3 additional groups of battle pilgrims. Also 3 groups of archers, all with fire arrows, I believe, yeah. No, pox arrows, and for the lord we have a basic Bretonnian lord. And for the empire we have a basic empire lord. Kind of weird that they didn't bring any mages, especially if they wanted to bunker down, as it seemed. Yeah, my ally brought 2 groups of Centigors with throwing axes, as well as 1 group of Harpies. And then for his main 4... whoops, that's a beautiful Dark Elf castle? Town, whatever. And for his main force we have 3 groups of Angors with spears and 2 Gorbals, then 1 Goreherd with shields and 1 group of Bestigors, as well as 2 groups of Minotaurs. And Catharak, the one eye on foot, with which abilities? Wait. Apocalyptic Vision and Deadly Onslaught and Primal Fury, so nothing fancy. And for my army I thought to go with Morgur, but then decided to take my Malagor build that I had to change since the patch bit. So we have 1 Brave Shaman of Wild and Malagor, both with Bestial Scourge, which regenerates Vigor, and the Brave Scream ability, which is pretty cheap. As well as a Jade Dagger for, well, Brave Shaman, and for Malagor we have Arcane Conduit and the Icons of Vilification, as well as, I think he had some ability when he cast the door or something. Well, maybe it's just his passives. Well, whatsoever, I also have a front line of 4 groups of Angor Spearmen, since they make a solid frontline choice. They have an okayish melee defense, are expendable, which is super cool for a unit. I think there are some of them more expendable, more costier expendable units. But they still are pretty good and have a bonus anti-large. The thing is why I didn't take Morgur is because his build didn't have any anti-cuff, so I brought 2 groups of Minotaurs with great weapons, then in the center 3 groups of Bestigors, and on the flanks 2 groups of Goreherds with dual weapons, as well as 1 group of Angor Raiders, Vanguard deployed here to counter any cannons. So yeah, let's get started. Also my ally didn't bring any mage either, but I brought 2, so that's good for us both. At this point I'm kind of using the terrain to basically protect myself from any Hellblaster volley gun, but I thought these were normal cannons and not mortars. And honestly, Yeah, mortars are doing a bit of damage there, but not too much, and these are Angors, so it's okay if they take a bit of damage here. My Bestigors will be safe mostly, and I don't think my Angors will be targeted. And at this point we have the Vanguard deployment of my ally coming in here, wrecking up his backline basically, and making the guns look into the other direction. And at this point my troops are kinda going high, but all his guns are firing at my support. And now they're firing into my troops, but that's okay, they are Angors. Yeah, 4 explosions for Angors. At this point I don't want to reveal my archers because they would be kinda shut down here, even though my ally has his Centigors. But we have the main frontline engagement here. While that, my ally is slowly marching forward to the Bretonnian lines. Yeah. Kinda weird to see no cavalry. I mean, this map is not really good for cavalry with all the uphill, but if they are, they still would be efficient, I guess. There is not too much forest, so they would be pretty free. At this point we have my troops basically angling around his tight formation, since he's kind of focusing on my Angors, which is okay. Just my center is breaking, and I will send in a group of Bestigors there when my spearmen flee, so that my center is not completely breaking. That's what I have them for. At this point we soon will have the engagement between the Bretonnian lines, who are pretty stacked up. Well, this is an amazing defensive formation. And some Angor spearmen running, so it's kind of a waste of this beautiful formation. Also, we are playing on ultra unit size, which is kind of bad for the enemy in this case, because we're outnumbering them. We have expendable units. Expendable units are super duper awesome on large unit sizes. Also, Malagor is in here casting the Brace Scream once or twice. Usually I'm using Wild Hide, but not here. And we have the Minotaurs going in. I kind of forgot about my Minotaurs until his oh, there was a good one, a Brace Scream. It's good to interrupt and deals a good amount of damage there. Focus firing the Minotaurs is a smart choice, even though they are Minotaurs with shields, so they basically can take a lot of fire, a lot more than normal Minotaurs, at least. And we have the foot squires going in against the Minotaurs, but that's not really working well. And this Gorb will just run through these pilgrims. I think they are not really peasants since they belong to the, well, clerics, whatever. But we have the front line going on, and the stacked front line is working well, while the front line is kind of tiring them out. The halberdiers are still intact, but honestly against Angors it's kind of a wasted thing there. It would have been better if they angled around and used their halberdiers to basically take care of the scoreballs. And at this point the Empire player is mostly routed, and will accept his general, which we will leave here in a second because we have no real reason to fight him. Currently I have a long march to help my ally here. These peasants are not really into fighting this scoreball, it seems. Even the arrows seem kinda, well, less interested in hitting him. And these Bestigors are just cutting through these peasants and pilgrims. They either have not enough AP or not enough attack skill, I guess, to really deal with Bestigors. And my army is still marching, while these Minotaurs will take care of these great swords. I mean, the Angors are still kinda able to fight here. And I think they should also have been affected by my grey magic, wild magic stuff. And at the point my troops arrive, their morale leadership is already breaking. So as you can see, the best cores have broken through and now running to take their share on human meat. It's kind of weird that the goats are eating meat. If you think about it, it's goatmen. Well, I guess they are more satyrs. Weird goaty satyrs. As well as the Minotaurs. Minotaurs should be kinda... If they're really made from cows, they should be vegetarians or something. Vegans. Yeah. And let's take a look at the kill counts. The Angor frontline did okay, considering they were fighting against Empire swordsmen and then great swords. And the Gorherds did pretty amazing, as well as the Bestigors, which was to be expected. I mean, they circled around and basically racked up the backline. And since these cannons and stuff were silenced right at the beginning, it could have been a harder battle if these were alive and these gunners weren't interrupted too. But yeah. And the Minotaurs did okay, I guess. And for my ally, the Gorbulls did pretty good together with Kazarak. Even though the Gorbulls did get a good amount of damage there. But they distracted all the units, and ooh, these Bestigors got 300 kills. And these Minotaurs also got a load of kills, as well as these Centigors, so also a more compact army. And for the Empire player, the Greatswords did pretty good, as well as the Swordsmen who were fighting the Angor Spearmen of me. And they also dealt some damage to my Gorherds, but not too much, sadly. And these gunners were mostly shooting at these Centigors and the Harpies, I guess. So they didn't get too many kills. And then they got interrupted, and was kind of bad for them. The general got kind of ignored, so yeah, he was into some Gorherds and stuff, but didn't really do too much. And the Mortis did okay-ish. I'm not really a fan of Mortis, and yeah, then they got interrupted and couldn't do really anything. As well as these Hellblaster volley guns. And for the Bretonnian player, the frontline did actually okay. Not all parts, probably the parts that fought against the Bestigors and the Gorherds or the Minotaurs didn't do too well. I mean, these Battle Pilgrims got a lot of kills, but probably mostly against Angors, so that's kind of sad. And these Foot Squires, they are not good against Minotaurs. They are probably pretty weak against Minotaurs. The regiments of renown would have been perfect to have this one group of halberdier foot squires, or this more offensive group of battle pilgrims. Yeah, and sadly the archers also didn't do too well. Also a lot of levels in these archers. Not sure if it's really worth it. But I guess if you want to have this line to hold and the archers to fire the whole time. But then again, if the enemy just runs around it or through your front line, that's not gonna work. Yeah, and a little piece of advice here. Ooh, 2,000 units. Well, we're on big unit sizes, so that's a thing. A little piece of advice here. You can buff for a pretty cheap price your front line up with one mage or something with maybe 1 or 2 spells. And it's kind of sad to not really rarely, but that I often see people just bring an army without a mage. And yeah, that's really kind of sad, because that's one of the special thing about Warhammer. Not only that you have special creatures and special cannons and fantasy stuff, well, fantasy stuff, yes, and one of this fantasy stuff is mages, and there is a reason why every faction in this game has mages except dwarves, and they have something like mages. And maybe they are the only real faction that does not really need mages in an army like this. And I mean, you can get them for cheap. And if they bring a buff spell, you can pretty much buff one unit up to the top and, well, go crazy with it or something. Or maybe you use the passive like these guys. They are not really that costly. I can show you how much they cost in a minute there. And the second thing is, if you want to bunker up and want to place yourself in a defensive position, don't really do it on a downhill battle. And the second thing is, don't split up. If you want to defend yourself in a 2v2, don't split your armies up. Hold them together, especially if you have no cavalry to protect your backline. Also have one troop in the backline, not only on the flanks. That can be pretty useful. Yeah. And that are my advices, and I wanted to show you something. The army, to be exact. Who was this? Malagor. I have too many armies saved. If you want to see any of these armies, or my army for a specific lore, just write it down in the comments and I will probably play with that army. Well, except it's a dwarf army. I mean, I have the dwarf armies and I have some additional dwarf armies to the legendary lords. But honestly, I'm not really a fan of the dwarfs. And yeah. Here you can see 500, something nearly 600, and for Malagor 1100. But just because he has a lot of abilities, and in a 2v2 it might be that you have a bit longer battles, so you want to have a lot of Winds of Magic. But for the most mages you can go like, here I want like Wildtide or the Wolf and Mantle of Gorok, or even Savage Dominions. Maybe take that, maybe not take that. Or for the lore of Shadows, Mindrazor, I think that one was the one that had, Area of Effect. Maybe Enfeebling Foe if you fear to face off against something that focuses, and there you have it. Take off the passive ability because you don't really need that speed unless you have a specific set in mind. Or take attack spells. You can also take attack spells for way less money. Here, 660. And it's basically the same for each thing. If you just take 1 or 2 spells, even if they are top tier, the mage doesn't really cost that much. What could you get for that? I think 800 you can get 2 units of Angkor Herds. Or you can get this, not get these units of Angkor Herds, and therefore get Mage. And especially important if you fight something like the Vampire Counts, where you, let's go for the Empire, there it is, which has a huge variety of mages, who could either go for Light Mage, or here, for Light Magic. If you like, don't like enemies running away, use the Net of Amitok, or like to deny their charges. You have a cheat mage, maybe set him on a horse, 500, 600, that's like 2 groups of spearmen. Or 1 group of handgunners. Either rather take that than maybe a 4th group of handgunners or something. Yeah. The thing is, if you don't bring them, you usually waste that wind of magic. Even if you play High Elf and have a Phoenix, 1 mage won't really hurt, because he won't really deplenish the winds of magic too much, unless you are constant casting with more than 1 or 2 spells. Yeah, or for example, the Bright Wizard can give you fire and magical damage that you may not have in your army. Things like that. I just wanted to note it because I've seen it pretty often right now that people are not bringing mages for what reason so ever, and I think that's pretty sad because the armies are kinda not profiting from mages that you could have brought. Yeah. Well, I still hope you enjoyed it. Have a nice day, and bye!